I think anytime you're accused of rape, I mean, that goes beyond just being a stupid college kid. That's pretty serious, obviously. And I know the Bucs took a chance picking Winston first overall back, I guess, 3 years ago now. But that was a big red flag when he came out. He's coming out of Florida State, was his conduct. And teams will take these high risks on players, especially quarterbacks, and hope that they can kind of rehabilitate them or put them into an atmosphere where they'll be shielded from that kind of thing, and they trust the leadership in the locker room. But in this case, it didn't pan out for Jameis, and he kept behaving kind of like he did when he was in college by allegedly grabbing this Uber driver and sort of assaulting her in whatever way he did. But and now the Bucs are going to have to pay the price. Winston is suspended for 3 games. He could be looking at a longer suspension should he go off the path again and do something else. I mean, there's going to obviously be a pretty close watch on what he's doing off the field now, even closer than maybe what he had, the scrutiny he had before this incident. So, he's really up against it, and the Bucs really have a decision to make if they want to keep going forward with Jameis Winston as their quarterback. I would assume they would, because he was the number 1 pick in the draft. But you really have to start coming up with a pretty solid plan B if you're Tampa Bay. And I don't think Fitzpatrick, their backup quarterback, who I think is like 35 years old, and he's playing for his 10th or 11th team now. I don't think he's a good plan B. So the Bucs really have to, all of a sudden they have to start finding out what they can do and what they can be without Jameis Winston, because if he doesn't straighten up his act, it's going to happen again, and the punishment's going to be much more severe.
Well, and that's my fear. I think, Ed, what we're going to see is that this is going to happen again. I hope I'm wrong, but when you start to see a pattern of things over a period of years, it's usually
right.
The statistics don't lie. Numbers are what they are. Unless people change their behaviors, it's like the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same things over and over again, but yet expect different results. So unless he changes his behavior, I don't know that we're going to see any different results. Rick-riggin, I know we only got you for a brief time, but what are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, Ed, I just wanted to ask and maybe get your thoughts. We saw what happened with Ray Rice when he knocked his wife out in the elevator as originally a 2-game suspension. Jameis has a 3-game suspension. Tom Brady got 4 games for a little bit less air in footballs. Do you think this is another issue maybe the NFL is dropping the ball on, basically, with punishment, because they don't really know how to handle the assaults just yet?
Well, I think that it falls under the personal conduct policy of the NFL, and I think that's kind of what their ground rules are. Is it's supposed to be a 3-game suspension. Now that I think came about because of the Ray Rice incident. Now, there was video of the Ray Rice thing. I think he got 2 games, right, Rick? And then after that video surfaced, then it became. Yeah, but then it became more, right? I think right, exactly. You never saw after that video came out. So there's no video of Winston. Had there been, if there was video, if the Uber driver had, some sort of a camera, in her, radio or ashtray or whatever, or a cigarette lighter. If there had been a camera in there and videoed what happened, then sure, we would probably see Winston go away for a while too. But that's what kind of led to the Ray Rice thing, was that camera evidence of him, punching his girlfriend in the elevator. But I think it also led the NFL to say, okay, we have a personal conduct policy that's 3 games. Tom Brady getting 4 for the deflating the balls, I thought that was well above what he should have gotten. I think that probably should have been 3 games, if anything, but that's a whole nother story. I think 3 games is kind of what the personal conduct policy is for the NFL, and that's what they deemed Winston broke the rule on. And Tom's right. You got to worry about, future incidents with someone who becomes kind of a serial abuser of the law, of rules of society.
We're talking with ed-kracz, our official NFL contributor. Now, Ed, in all fairness, there are other players that got suspended. I mean, you guys lost.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Nigel
just
Bradham.
this week from. That's right.
Nigel Bradham.
Now, this is the same rule, NFL personal conduct violation, from something that happened in 2016 from an arrest that happened down in Miami Beach. First of all, what do we know about it? And the way I understand it is he's only suspended for preseason games. So where's the difference in the same rule break? You get 3 games, you get 2 games. Talk with us about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not the preseason game. Bradham was suspended for the season opener against the Atlanta Falcons, which that's the kickoff the NFL weekend. The Eagles, being Super Bowl champs, get the honor of playing the season opener on that Thursday night, and it's going to be against the Falcons. And Bradham will not participate in that, but it's only 1 game, and I'm really not sure. That just came down yesterday. And we all, as reporters who cover the team, we kind of thought something would happen last year. It seems strange, A, that it's only 1 game, and B, that it's been 2 years now since this violation allegedly occurred of him. I don't know if you're familiar with the incident, but apparently he struck a worker of a hotel who was setting up a place for them on the beach down in Miami. Bradham, after that, he brought a loaded gun onto an airplane. He tried to bring a loaded gun onto an airplane and got for that. So he had a couple misconduct violations kind of within a span of about, 2.5 months. He got that airplane, the loaded gun onto an airplane violation coming back to training camp in 2016, which would have been in July, and in June was when he was accused. So really about a 6-week span, he kind of went off the reservation, so to speak, and had some conduct issues. And I don't know why it's only 1 game. It's a good question. It seems like that's kind of, Roger Goodell, kind of whoever his punishment people are, that's what they deemed was necessary. And I don't know why. I'm still kind of curious. And like I said, it just happened yesterday. I'm away. I'm on, I'm down at the, down at the ocean here, down at the beach. So I haven't really had a chance to kind of dive too deep into it, but it'll be interesting to see what comes to light over these next couple of weeks, exactly why it was only 1 game and, why 2 years later this comes about. And if you're Nigel Bradham and you're the Eagles, you have to be pretty darn happy that it's only 1 game and that he'll be right back for the remaining 15 games of the year.
Absolutely, and we'll see how that all pans out. It seems that this week that the NFL was kind of suspend happy, and the Colts didn't miss the bullet either. Robert Turbin, 4 games for PED, performance enhancement drugs rule broken. Rick, go ahead. You can chime in anytime here on the Eagles linebacker Branham and Robert Turbin. With the Colts. What are your thoughts?
Well, he's jumping on PEDs. And Ed, do you think the suspension for Julian Edelman's going to hold up? I mean, he's going after the whole tampering with his sample and using that same defense that Ryan Braun with the Milwaukee Brewers used, a few years ago when this happened to him. I personally, I think he's guilty of something because if it's an unknown substance, but the NFL doesn't know what it is. He probably has to know what the substance is, and he's not saying what it is. I mean, he should just come out with it. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, in the days after that suspension came to light, I think Edelman came out and issued an apology for the suspension before he decided to fight it. He said, in his initial apology that he would look into what he can do to fight it. And now all of a sudden he's going to take this tack. So to me, if Edelman's coming out and apologizing, clearly he did something. Otherwise, he would have come right out and said, listen, I didn't do anything. I don't understand it. But to me, he got lawyered up. He talked to some lawyers. He got some representation, and they said, let's try and fight this way. And that's what he's doing. He's listening to his lawyer's advice. And if it gets overturned, I know it was with Ben Braun, I believe. But, I don't think it's ever been successful in the NFL. I think when guys get busted, they get busted, and the NFL stands by that. And I don't see this being overturned. I just think Edelman's just trying to clear his name, and I think, frankly, he's just listening to what his representation is telling him that he can do, because his first thought was, I'm going to apologize, and he apologized. Why would you apologize for something you didn't do?
All right, real quick, I think the reason why he might be fighting it because it's with the Patriots. We saw with Deflategate when Tom Brady fought the deflated footballs. It actually took a whole another year before he had to serve his suspension, so maybe they're going that same route. If he fights it, maybe this is going to drag on. He could probably play this season and then serve his suspension the following season.
Yeah, well, we saw that with Lane Johnson in Philadelphia, the right tackle, when he was caught for a second time with PEDs and was facing a 10-game suspension back in, I guess that would have been 2016. His fight took him through the first, I think it was 3, maybe 4 games of that season, and it was 4 games Lane Johnson played in while he fought and while he appealed this second violation of the PEDs, and the Eagles were 3-1 with him out there, and they had a promising season going. And then when he got suspended, they, of course, went the opposite way, and they ended up 7-9. That was Doug Peterson's first year. So, yeah, you're right, Rick. This fight could take as long as a full season. In Lane Johnson's case, this came to light in August during training camp, and it took a month into the season before it was adjudicated. So Edelman's situation is a little bit different in terms of the timing. This has been known now for, I guess maybe a month, coming up on a month now, since he was caught allegedly using PEDs. So I would suspect that it will be adjudicated much quicker than a full season, and he'll end up serving some kind of suspension. As to when, whether it's a month into the season or 5 weeks into the season, we'll see. We saw that with Zeke Elliott, right, last year, the Cowboys running back, how he fought the charges against him, and then it came kind of at a bad time. So if you're a player, I know you want to clear your name, but sometimes you have to look at what's best for the team too. And is it best for Edelman to sit out the first 4 games of the season, or do you want to have him go missing November 1st and have him sit for the month of November? I mean, really, to me, I understand clearing the name, but I think you take your punishment, you do your time, and then you come back and you try to be a better, you try not to let it happen again.
We're talking with ed-kracz, official beat writer for the NFL Philadelphia Eagles, official NFL contributor for us. There we go. I'll get it straight.
As if there was any other Philadelphia Eagles.
That's right. I was trying to say our official NFL contributor and beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles. My words just got all mixed up, so it's okay. Maybe I've had some of your moonshine, Rick. No, I'm just kidding. A little too early for that.
Well, yeah,
so we'll talk about. We'll talk just a little bit more about what came down this week. Obviously, we talked going back to the Bucks. The Bucks released a veteran offensive lineman, J.R. Sweezy. Now he's just coming back from a broken leg, and I've heard other people talk about that this week and over the last couple of days. A lot of people think that he's on his way to retirement, and that's unfortunate. What are your thoughts there, Ed?
Well, it is unfortunate. He was the big free agent signing Tampa had, I think it was 2 years ago, from the Seattle Seahawks. I've heard that the Seahawks might get involved and try to see if he is still willing to play and maybe have a return to Seattle. That Seattle offensive line is, a little bit underwhelming. So to have him come back, if he's willing to play, if his knee is still sound or whatever that injury was, then, he potentially could go back to Seattle. But, Tampa took a chance on him. And again, it comes down to free agency. You really have to be wary sometimes in free agency. You give these guys big money and then they don't pan out. And that was the case with Sweezy, J.R. Sweezy here. Tampa thought for 5 years he would solidify that guard spot, and it just didn't work out. I think the first year is when he had that injury with the leg, or maybe it was the knee. I'm not sure, but I think his first year in Tampa after signing that deal was when he got hurt. And then I think last year he didn't play as well as they had hoped. So, it's another cautionary tale in free agency. We all look forward to free agency and signing these big names, and they get lots of money, but sometimes they don't always pan out. And for Tampa and J.R. Sweezy, it didn't. And we'll see if he wants to keep playing. He's certainly young enough to keep playing. It's just a matter of whether his leg and his knee is sound and if he can find a landing spot.
Well, we're getting closer to camps opening up in about a month or so, so we're getting closer. It is getting closer where we can say, amen, can we get an amen for football again? Talk with me a little bit about your quarterback. Obviously, Carson Wentz is your quarterback, but Nick Foles is your Super Bowl champion quarterback. He's on a book tour. I saw him on Fox and Friends this week. Great interview, by the way, by Carson Wentz. Talked about his faith in God and certainly the struggles that he's been through. One of the couple things that he was asked was, are you okay with being the backup to Carson Wentz? He said, I'm okay with being with the Philadelphia Eagles. And if that's where I'm supposed to be, that's where I'm supposed to be. When they ask him, would you take a